Hello and welcome to Manservant Hecubus's first ever top 10 list. The top 10 most evil games of 2019. Now these games don't necessarily have to be evil per se in their mood and atmosphere like the ever so subtle Doom or Diablo games, for example, or in their titles like The Evil Within or Resident Evil, though spoiler alert, Resi 2 does make this list. And hell, I don't even like some of the games on this list, but they just have to be evil for one reason or another, and because, well, damn it, because I say so. And this is my top 10 list. So let's get started, shall we? A few of the games on this list are some I just didn't really care for, and Astral Chain is one of them. Why is it evil? Because it's an okay game that received reviews way too glowing for its above average game mechanics and repetitive play. The game has its moments. Exploring new areas and finding and completing side quests was fairly entertaining, but the combat, which is praised quite a bit by the way for its depth, is in reality too messy to be anything more than a chore, especially during lengthy encounters. And while the areas of the city are often fun to investigate, yes, you're a cop, the alternate dimension levels are bland, monotonous, and take way too long to traverse. The inclusion of your Legion companions / slaves does add an interesting dynamic to the combat, but again, it's just a tad too disorderly to be fun. So reviewers, by all means, continue your evil ways and praise those mediocre games. There's one very simple reason Death Stranding, possibly the most highly anticipated game of the last few years, is on this very evil list. What is that reason, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Because it's so freaking boring. I mean, come on. It's a walking simulator. That's it. Okay, yes, there are some tar-covered beasties here and there, and yes, it does have Mads Mikkelsen in it, but oh my lord. You're a freaking glorified mailman, for crying out loud. And a not very interesting mailman at that. Daryl trudges to and fro, finding time to cry while caring for the freaky baby strapped to his chest. I actually found myself getting sleepy every time I tried to fire up this game. That's when I knew I had to walk away. So damn evil. The idea of a Dark Souls-like game with an anime veneer was initially an intriguing concept, but ultimately the end result was a bit of a mess. I mean, I adore the Dark Souls games, Bloodbourne, Sekiro, and almost everything FromSoft has done, so I'm always seeking out games that attempt to clone that challenging risk-reward formula, but more often than not, I'm let down. Such is the case with Code Vein. While the game was okay, I was hoping for a lot more substance. Instead, what I got was one of the best character creation tools video games have ever seen. But that's it. What we're left with are substandard controls, substandard combat, substandard enemies, and incredibly confusing and repetitive environments. Seriously? Cathedral of the Sacred Blood level? I'm looking at you. Just horrible. So that's why Code Vein, a game that seemed so promising but ultimately delivered a forgettable experience, has found its way onto my top 10 most evil list for 2019. It's evil because it's so damned disappointing. Ever wanted to play a game where you control a goose that's a complete and total asshole? Untitled Goose Game is the game for you then. You play an annoyingly evil goose who wanders around a small town, creating havoc and chaos, irritating the residents of the village who are simply trying to go about their daily tasks. Little did they know they'd have to deal with an evil goose who's just an all-around prick, honking, flapping, stealing, and playing pranks on the unsuspecting townsfolk. Yep, this goose is pure evil through and through. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The name just sounds evil. But is it really all that evil? Well, it's not quite evil enough. It's semi-evil. It's quasi-evil. It's the margarine of evil. It's the Diet Coke of evil. Just 1 calorie, not evil enough. But is it a good game? Most definitely. Another great Metroidvania from the guy who practically invented the genre, Koji Igarashi. And he made this one for the fans of his classic Castlevania series, particularly styled after Symphony of the Night and Order of Ecclesia. And hey, there is a boss called Baal, so that's pretty evil. I swore off of online shooters years ago. After getting rather good at games like Battlefield 1942, Tribes, and Counter-Strike, I just started to get too stressed out. Additionally, a lot of players online are even too evil for me, reveling in racism, bigotry, and all-around assholism. But for some reason, Call of Duty Modern Warfare called out to me, and here I am playing another online shooter. Why is it evil? A few reasons. 1, it pisses me off to no end every single time I get killed by another player.
That really pisses me off to no end.
Also, the maps suck for the most part, and playing on a map I actually like is rare. And the third biggest reason it's one of the most evil games of 2019, they called it freaking Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There was already a game called that, but for some reason, Activision thought their player base was too stupid to know or care. They're probably right. Evil! A protagonist who wears a cone-head helmet filled with blood, a giant baby and its eyes gouged out, ripping you apart, gory martyrdom, a charred visage that would make Harvey Dent cringe. That's only a few examples as to why Blasphemous is so damned evil. Our hero is known as the Penitent One. Throughout the game, he traverses bleak landscapes populated with warped religious imagery and inhabited by vile and twisted souls, both living and dead. It's a brilliant 2D side-scroller where blood flows readily and effortlessly in a beautifully envisioned pixel art world. If you like Dark Souls, and you really should, then you'll love this brutally evil take on the Metroidvania genre. Dante is back, and with a couple of other fellow demon hunters, in Devil May Cry's best game in the series to date. Of course, it's evil for all the right reasons. Demons and devils, blood drinking, excessive violence and nudity. But it's that nudity part that really makes this evil list. No, I'm not puritanical or anything, but apparently Sony is because they originally censored the PS4 version to excise any bare flesh in one particular scene with the use of some creative lens flare. The Xbox and PC versions were censorship-free, but Sony seems to be on a skin-free crusade right now, and Devil May Cry was their latest victim. Truly evil, Sony. How evil can a video game publisher be to simply repackage a classic from 20 years ago and sell it to unsuspecting rubes as a full-price game? Capcom is that evil, and we all bought into their diabolical plan. Fortunately, the Resi 2 remake was absolutely remarkable. Dripping with tension and dread around every corner, Capcom managed to reconstruct an aged masterpiece from the ground up and give it new life for this generation of consoles. Of course, the game is evil for many other reasons. It's spooky, gory, icky, slimy, and they kill off one of their best characters in the beginning of the game. Marvin! Oh, spoiler alert. I'm so evil. And my number one most evil game of 2019 is FromSoftware's brutal and punishing Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. While From's Soulsborne games are infamous for their back-breaking difficulty, Sekiro took it to a whole new level. One of the more forgiving aspects of Dark Souls and Bloodbourne was the concept of summoning either NPC or online players to lend you a hand in particularly tough sections of the games. Sekiro gets rid of that entirely, instead offering a solely single-player experience. You live or die, and you do die a lot, by your own skills and certainly without the help of others. Other than being the best game of 2019, why is it also on the most evil list? Because it's hard. You're initially tricked into believing the resurrection mechanic will be a great help in overcoming the hordes of mini and main bosses. It's not. It's really not. All it does is provide a means for the game to screw you over even more, courtesy of dragon rot, which slowly crumbles the world around you every time you die, making the game even more difficult. And in true FromSoftware fashion, there is no difficulty slider. It's evil, evil I tell you! And that is why Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is my most evil and best game of the year. So do you agree? Disagree? Am I being too kind or too unfair to some of these games? Are there other games out there released in 2019 you feel were more evil than the ones on this list? If so, please feel free to let me know in the comments. For now, this is Hecubus signing off from the pit of ultimate darkness. And as my master, Sir Simon Milligan, always says, do not fear the evil that surrounds you. Do not avoid the hounds of hell.
Do not avoid the beasts of brimstone. Do not avoid the puppies of purgatory. You must always embrace the hellfire! 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 Thank you, good night. If you haven't already, please call your mom.
Anger rising, starting to get very pissed off at this game right now. Again, I'm getting right pissed off right now. Oh yeah. Shit! You jumped off again, you penis! Get out! Oh! Yeah!